Hi, it's Laura at Aquamarine18 Tarot and Books. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. Welcome or welcome back. In this video, I will be sharing my last monthly TBR for 2024, the books I plan to read in December. And I mostly can't believe that it's December. The year has gone by quickly. I'm doing something for this TBR that I have never consciously tried to do before. And that is to construct a TBR of titles that I think will be 5-star reads for me. I've chosen 5, and not just because 5 books, 5 stars sounds cool, but because with their total being around 1,400 or 1,500 pages, I feel like this is doable. Some of the books are long or dense, or I know will not be quick, so I don't want to overload myself. It's a smaller page count than I usually go for. I'm also, by leaving it short, leaving open the possibility that maybe a holiday gift book might make it into my December reading. We shall see. I did only include books that I already owned. So I just kind of looked at the books I had in my house or the books that I had on my e-reader, and I chose 5 that I think will be 5-star reads. The idea of doing this came to me when I was making a VR to a book by Heather over at Bookish Downtime. I will link her video and my VR below, on the topic of star ratings and star rating systems, whether or not they're useful, whether or not articulating your own kind of set of meanings for the 5 stars is useful. And so I got this idea to try to do a predicted kind of 5-star TBR and see where I end up. See if I can do that or not. And you can tell me in the comments below what you think of this. But thinking of this idea, I was then struck by the thought, will people think it's weird that this isn't something I'm doing all the time? If you're a person who makes TBRs, do you think about what you might rate a book? Do you only put books on your TBR that you think have a good chance of being 5-star reads, or maybe 4 to 5-star reads? Do you think about the books in this way? I do not. And obviously I'm not making TBRs full of books that I think that I'm probably going to hate, because that would not be a good use of my time, I don't think. It wouldn't make reading very fun. But I feel like wanting to read broadly and, try new things and try new authors and try works by debut authors and try, new genres. I could do more of that. Means that for me, I have to just kind of be open to what the reading experience is going to be. In coming up with these 5 that I chose for the 5 books that I think will be 5-star, I have chosen all books that are by authors that I have read before. In several cases, they are books by authors that I've read multiple other titles from. In the case of 2 of the books, they are parts of a series that I've already started. So I feel like, and again, perhaps this is obvious, but I'm sharing my thoughts. I feel like the process of trying to figure out, what do I really think for sure is going to be a 5-star book, and I want to find those books on my list, the list of books that I own, that is. What the result is that I've chosen books by authors that I have a high sense of confidence in, whose work I tend to consistently like, who I've engaged with, on at least some level previously. And so it is a kind of result of keeping me in my comfort zone. in a way. And so this is why always making a 5-star TBR is not a thing I'm interested in doing. I don't know if I could, having never done this before, we'll see. I don't think I could make a year's worth of 5-star TBRs and actually end up reading nothing but 5-star books for a year, for example. Like, that feels totally impossible to me. But it's not something I would want to do, because I think that it would keep me too narrowly focused. You know, there's inevitably some unknown when you're reading a brand new author or a brand new kind of type of book or genre of book. Like, you don't know whether you're going to love it or not. And for me, that's part of the fun. So that's the requisite ramble out of the way. 5 books that I think will be 5-star reads. 3 of them are from my physical shelf. They're the 3 nonfiction, which tends to be how things go for me. Nonfiction tends to be hard copy and fiction tends to be on my e-reader. 3 books that are nonfiction from my shelf and 2 fiction from my e-reader. So, starting with a nonfiction, these are in no real particular order. The first on my list is I Contain Multitudes, The Microbes Within Us and a Grander View of Life by Ed Yong, Pulitzer Prize winner. This book is kind of a surprise in this context, in that if you would have told me a year ago I was going to make a 5-star TBR and the first book that I would put on that would be a book about microbes, I would have been surprised by that. But I have a very high degree of confidence that this will be a 5-star book, not just because of how awarded it is, and it is, but based on my experience of Ed Yong's other book, which is about animal senses and animal sensory experience. I actually have that book sitting here somewhere. Yes, I do. This book, An Immense World, How Animal Senses Reveal the Hidden Realms Around Us. I loved this book. This is some of the best nature writing that I have read ever. Ed Yong is a science journalist who writes for The Atlantic, has written in a number of other contexts. This was so excellent that I know that I Contain Multitudes just has to be excellent as well. The description on the back says that I Contain Multitudes lets us peer into the vast world of the microbiome for the first time, allowing us to see how ubiquitous, complex, and vital microbes really are. They sculpt our organs, defend us from disease, break down our food, bombard our genomes with their genes, and grant us incredible abilities. This book will change both our view of nature and our sense of where we belong in it. I cannot wait to learn about microbes with Ed Yong. I think that this will be a 5-star book. The second book on my list, also nature writing. Again, also an author I've read before, and a book that I just picked up at my local bookstore. I saw that they got copies in and just grabbed one and took it right to the counter, and that was that. It came home with me. And that book is The Service Berry, Abundance and Reciprocity in the Natural World by Robin Wall Kimmerer, who is the author of Braiding Sweetgrass, as well as a book on moss, Gathering Moss, A Natural and Cultural History of Mosses. I have read both of those books. I really liked both of those books. I would say Braiding Sweetgrass in particular is a book that was really kind of transformative for me. It gave me a lot to think about. It's a book that I revisit. I'm not really a rereader so much, but there are chapters there that I have read several times. Braiding Sweetgrass is a book that I've recommended a lot. It is a beautiful book. And if you haven't read Braiding Sweetgrass, I would say to go pick up a copy right away. And the back of this says, all flourishing is mutual. The illustrator of this book is named in here somewhere. There are some beautiful illustrations in it. John Burgoyne is the illustrator. And Robin Wall Kimmerer, the author, is a mother, scientist, professor, and enrolled member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, and is just a fabulous, fabulous author. I've loved both of her books. I think this is more of an essay. It's quite short. It's only 112 pages. And I cannot wait. And the little description in the beginning of the book, very briefly, a bold and inspiring vision for how to orient our lives around gratitude, reciprocity, and community based on the lessons of the natural world. Goes on later to say the serviceberry's relationship with the natural world is an embodiment of interconnectedness and gratitude. The tree distributes its wealth, its abundance of sweet, juicy berries to meet the needs of its natural community, and in this distribution ensures its own survival. Kimmerer explains serviceberries show us another model, one based on reciprocity rather than accumulation, where wealth and security come from the quality of our relationships, not from the illusion of self-sufficiency. So a very mutual aid and community connection focused book. I cannot wait. I feel very confident in this as a 5-star pick as well. The third and final nonfiction that I've chosen for my 5 books, 5 stars TBR is Tarot for Transformation, The Swords by Drea Bloom. I have had this on my shelf for an embarrassingly long amount of time, and I have wanted to read this book. Thank you to Drea for sending me this book. This is one in a series. There's the Tarot for Transformation. The first book is Major Arcana focused. Then there's a book on Pentacles, which I've done a review of, both on Goodreads and here on YouTube as well. And the Swords. And then, of course, there are going to be books on Cups and on Wands. The Pentacles book, I really, really loved. I gave it 5 stars in my review. I feel like these books are just they're like this kind of meandering that happens in conversation between people who love tarot talking to other people who love tarot, and it bounces around in a number of different I would say kind of like disciplinary frameworks or areas in terms of getting into kind of detailed tarot symbolism, but also some aspects of kind of history and cultural context. And there's kind of little nods to, things like astrology here and there. It's not super heavy in those kinds of areas. There's some kind of mythology type content where relevant. And it's full of kind of reflection questions for each card. It is a card by card structure from King to Ace. And I, for my time with the Pentacles book, for each card would choose a handful of the questions and use those as journaling prompts. And I really got a lot out of it. And I really enjoyed the experience of that. And I think that I will for the Swords just as much. So I am confident that I will love the Swords as much as I love the Pentacles, which makes it a really good pick for me for the 5-star 5-book TBR. For fiction, I've chosen 2 books. The first book of fiction that I chose for this TBR, I did not have to think hard about. I knew, this is on my Kindle. This is going to go on the 5-star reading list. The Lotus Empire by Tasha Suri. The Lotus Empire is the 3rd book in a trilogy called the Burning Kingdoms trilogy. I have read, of course, the first 2 installments, and have been waiting and waiting for the Lotus Empire to be released. And this is just a fantastic series. I gave 5-star review to the Oleander Sword, which was the second book in the trilogy. I don't remember if I gave 5 stars to the first book or if I did 4. I feel like I liked the second book more than the first, actually, in this trilogy, which doesn't often happen because so often kind of middle books are middle bookish. But I really, really like this series. In my Goodreads review for the Oleander Sword, the second book, wrote to start off my review, this is what I want in epic fantasy. And I went on to say that this is one of the best series going right now. It is so much of what I want in a fantasy book series. It is multiple points of view. It's queer. It's diverse. It has political intrigue. It has religious themes. It has magic and interesting magical systems that feel unlike, what a lot of other fantasy series have done. It is just a really, really good series. And book 2 left me stressed to get to book 3. So I have high hopes and strong confidence in Tasha Suri, getting the ending of this amazing trilogy right. And so that is why this is on my 5-star TBR. Last but most definitely not least is a book of short fiction, again by an author that I have read before, and that is Jamaica Ginger and Other Concoctions by Nalo Hopkinson. Nalo Hopkinson is, very widely published, well-known, very accomplished author, and I have read one novel by Nalo Hopkinson already this year, Blackheart Man. I have also read a little bit of Nalo Hopkinson's short fiction before. I believe Jamaica Ginger and Other Concoctions, I have read one of the stories that is in there. I did take a peek at the table of contents because I didn't want to approach the 5-star TBR by just reading a bunch of 5-star, but rereading a bunch of things that I already knew that I loved, because that kind of felt like cheating. And again, I'm not a big rereader. I did reread Le Petit Prince last month, just because I needed something. Just because I needed something for comfort, So I read that for November, this month. And yeah. So Jamaica Ginger and Other Concoctions is the first short fiction collection that Nalo Hopkinson has put out in quite a number of years. It is, I think, mostly comprised of short stories that have been published in other places. I'm not sure if that's exclusively the case or if just some of the stories have been. I know that it also has something that I really like in a short story collection like this, which is brief, kind of contextual notes by the author introducing each story. And I just feel like, thinking about authors that I could comfortably put on a 5-star TBR because I have a strong feeling that the work will be excellent, that Nalo Hopkinson is one of those authors. I think she's written so many amazing works that I would almost be surprised if this wasn't a 5-star read. I do think sometimes with a short fiction, it can be risky to anticipate a 5-star read, just because I feel like inevitably in any collection, you're going to like some stories more than others. I feel like with it being a single author collection, that is less so than if it was an anthology. But Jamaica Ginger and Other Concoctions, that is my last on my list. That is, again, in no particular order, of books that I think will be 5-star. So, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of my list. If you've read any of these authors, I would love to read your comments. And let me know how you approach TBRs if you make them, or how you choose what to read, really, because whether you're making a TBR or not, it's some degree the same thought process, whether you're just picking the next book you're going to read or whether you're picking the next 5 books you're going to read, right? It's still some forward looking, right? Do you think about the extent to which you think you might love the text when you do that? And what does that look like or feel like for you? I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon.